What a lovely day it is to talk about a new Mad Max Furiosa film. Let's do it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's movie review of Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, the newest film from director George Miller. So here we are in a prequel sense. We are now following the rise of Furiosa, who was played by Charlie in Fury Road. And in this film, we see Furiosa's rise to who she would eventually become, in the essence of her being taken hostage from the Greenland that she was from, to her being kind of under captive under this character named Dementis, who of course is played by Chris Hemsworth, to her eventual rise in the ranks of course, Immortan Joe. And it's just kind of the who and what and how she became who she is, and the justifications for what reason, and so on and so forth. And on top of everything, it shows us more and more of Immortan Joe's family and his world and how everything operates. You know, we see Bullet City, we see of course Gastown. It's that type of movie. It's definitely a prequel of sense of Furiosa and her character. So this film I've been looking forward to ever since it was announced. George Miller has a lot of cred in this world after Mad Max Fury Road, one of the greatest action films ever made. It was my favorite film of the decade in the 2010s. And this is a film that's very interesting because it's one of those things where you kind of wonder if it's going to perform very well and if it's going to succeed in the kind of critical aspect. You know, this is a movie with a lot of buzz behind it. It has a lot of people looking forward to it. Not in the sense of like, you know, Deadpool or Wolverine, but in the sense of because of how good Mad Max Fury Road was and how good the Mad Max series is. It's pretty interesting to see them recast Furiosa and not do a de-aging thing, which most studios would do, but they actually bring in Anya Taylor-Joy as well as another young actress who plays the young Furiosa. And I don't know, this is one of those films I was just really looking forward to. Whether it was going to be good or not is the question, because there are some times where George Miller can be a little hit or miss when it comes to films, but he seems to be always on point when it comes to the Mad Max series because it's something he truly loves. He has a great point of view when it comes to the world and how we protect the world and how things are very precious to when they become very obsolete. It's very much dealing with nature and nurture and, you know, evil versus good and so on and so forth. So, and on top of everything, it has great characters and stuff like that, and very unique kind of stylistic characters and whatnot. So here we are. Furiosa is finally released in theaters, you know, almost 10 years after Mad Max Fury Road. And my honest review of this movie is it's quite a remarkable feat that George Miller is, I think, 80 years old or close to it, and he's still one of the best action directors out there. There is some set pieces in this movie that are absolutely incredible. Most involve the war rig and most involve a tanker, but though the action set pieces are more visually CGI'd in this movie, which is a little bit of a downstep, they're still quite impressive, to be fairly honest. They do things, you know, that feel very, if you've seen Mad Max Fury Road, you'll know the set pieces very well, with like the pole that people like climb on and move forward with, and you see, you know, the war boys and the sticks that they throw, and you see like big fan flying devices and stuff like that. It's not to the level of what Fury Road did, but it's still very, very impressive. And once again, George Miller, it can still make a very impressive movie just by doing like it's not what I would call toned down or basic, but it's methodical, it's very kind of in your face, and it does it with a nice bravado and stuff like that. And on top of everything, which I was really surprised about, because Mad Max Fury Road didn't have what I would call a story, it just had kind of a chase sequence. There's actually a story, there's actually character development, there's actually characters that have a beginning, a middle, and end, and those character progressions are interesting. It's not perfect. There are some story elements that happen, especially with Dementis, the Chris Hemsworth character, which I found very lacking, in the sense of like there are things that he does with Dementis, and there are times where George Miller seems to be lost in the idea of like where he wants to progress his character, and there are times where the character just kind of disappears, and then there's character moments where they make choices with Dementis, and there's also another character, I think it's Pretorius Jack, who's played by Tom Burke, where I don't feel like the characters get a lot of justification for where they end up and how they end up. They do, especially Dementis's character, which it's a great name. There's something to say about how George Miller stylizes this world storytelling and how he creates like characters themselves, because you know you have like Toe Cutter and you have a Morton Joe and you have this character of Pretorius Jack and stuff like that, and you know other characters, and yeah, there's definitely originality to it, but I definitely felt the problems when it came to the storytelling aspects, because it feels like a movie that definitely tries to actually have a story this time, but the story is so weird and kind of plot hole-ish in a lot of respects, which I'm not trying to downgrade the movie because the movie is still fantastic, but it's definitely noticeable when like certain characters just kind of maybe disappear and don't reappear, or you know are killed off, and it happens a lot in this movie, to be fairly honest. And it's definitely not shown early on, but as you get into the adult Furiosa, like the young adult played by Anya Taylor-Joy, it definitely starts to become noticeable, like they were trying to like a little bit lost for time, I guess you could say. But the stuff in the beginning with the young Furiosa, and like how she was taken hostage and stuff like that, and how she ends up with the Morton Joe and stuff like that, it's pretty incredibly done. It's very potent, but there's a level of craft that people like George Miller, Steven Spielberg, Christopher Nolan can only do. It really is just like it's an accomplishment of feats and stuff like that. And this is a gigantic cast in this movie of characters and people, and to wrangle all those characters, all those individual actors up and stuff like that, it's a feat that George Miller handles with bravado and stuff like that. Once again, the other complaint I have is this movie is heavily used in CGI, which I kind of wish it wasn't, because I mean, yes, he used CGI a bit in, of course, Fury Road, and you know, but it felt more practical than this movie, and there are definitely practical stuff that's happening in this, but I feel like he's kind of leaning on that CGI to make it more visually appealing. But that's not why we liked Fury Road. Fury Road felt very much a very down-to-earth, very kind of kinetic action film with like a lot of like crazy, mind-bending, mind-blowing, like mind-melting sequences. And it happens in this movie, but it's just like you could tell when the war boys are very CGI'd, or the vehicles are very CGI'd, or the wide shots are very CGI'd. It's just like, I guess it's 2025 or 2024 at this point, so we're unfortunately going to get that. But I guess, to be fairly honest, just to kind of go with it and wrap it up, I just think this film is just it's a visual feast of the eyes. It has very unique characters. It brings back a lot of characters from Mad Max Fury Road, include Rectus and stuff like that, and it brings in a couple new characters, but you get to see this expanded world that you didn't get to very much see in Fury Road, and it's very unique, and the way the cities work, it's just kind of cool, and it does a lot of things that George Miller just is very good at doing, and I really appreciate that. And it has a very high, like very large scale that the Fury Road didn't have. And once again, the story with Anya Taylor-Joy, who is quite good in this movie, and only has like 30 lines of dialogue, similar to Tom Hardy in Fury Road, does a really nice job with just kind of her movements and her visual feel to her face and stuff like that. And I like the fact that Morton Joe feels very flawed character compared to what he felt like in Fury Road. And on top of that, like I said, Chris Hemsworth is just eating scenery or chewing scenery and campy, and you can really feel outside of the prosthetic nose that he has that he really loved what he was doing. And once again, you hear about what George Miller and Tom Hardy and the problems they had on set. You can kind of feel like that probably happened here, but it makes more of a raw feeling when it comes to the acting ability. And Chris Hemsworth he's a great actor. He just has fun with what he's doing. He appreciates the craft of art and does it with bravado, and everybody else is just having fun in this movie. But I think Chris Hemsworth and Anya Taylor-Joy just do a fantastic job of just creating a prequel to a film that is very much beloved and one got Best Picture nominations. So Furiosa, Mad Max Saga, very much a recommendation if you especially like Fury Road. It is very weird. It is Mad Max, but it is amazing. I really loved it. Is it going to be my top 10 of the year? We'll see. But as of right now, I definitely recommend it, especially if you like Fury Road. So anyways, with that said, that's going to be my take on Furiosa, Mad Max Saga. I really hate that Mad Max Saga, by the way. Now in theaters. So anyways, comments below. What do you think of this movie? Did you like it? Do you think it's as good as Fury Road? Do you think it's like one of the best Mad Max movies? Do you hate it? Let me know in the comments why, but thank you so much. If you like what you see on this video, awesome. Hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. As always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.